lesson for today. Ladies, hello, hello. Today is April 9th. It is a beautiful Friday outside. I am excited for this series. We are continuing with our series of the foundation. Today, Miss Leslie has an incredible message on, here it is. Let's get violent. I mean, oh my gosh. I don't know if you could choose a more exciting title for today's lesson. I can't wait to hear what it's about. I know Laura and I were talking today about Jesus flipping tables. So I know it's going to be amazing because Jesus was a humble, wonderful man, but he was not afraid to get into it, right? So Ms. Leslie, I love your heart. You are so humble, but you are a warrior. I've seen you war. It's going to be great. I give you the floor. It's all yours.
Well, thank you so much. Can everybody hear me? Yes? Okay, you can hear me good. All right. So yeah, when I was going over this lesson, I was struggling with the name because it was like, you know, stand up and fight. And it was like, then I read the verse. That's like, wow, yeah, we as women are just as not in our nature to be violent. So when I read that in the Bible, I thought, why would it be in the Bible that let's get violent? I love that verse. And I associate as a woman, Matthew 5:5. I associate that easier with that easier. It's blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. And Matthew 5:39. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. So for a long time, I struggled with Matthew 11:12. I don't know if anybody else struggled with that verse, but I struggled with it. And Matthew 11:12 says, from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven has suffered violence, and the violent take it by force. I was like, wow, that's an aggressive verse right there. So first of all, what is the kingdom of heaven? Well, you are. When you decide to surrender your life to Christ, he who took our sin upon himself so that his plan, his purpose, and perfection could come inside of us, that makes us the kingdom of heaven. When you get into his word and the truth gets inside of you, John 1:14 says, and the word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory as of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. We have this amazing, incredible, powerful, the most powerful force in the universe inside jars of clay, which makes us the kingdom of heaven. In 2 Corinthians, it says that we are in jars of clay in 2 Corinthians 4:7-9. It says, but we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that the surpassing power belongs to God and not to us. We are afflicted in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, but not driven to despair, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed. That is why the kingdom of heaven is Jesus inside of you. And he very lovingly tells us to prepare for the violence that is coming. So the first thing, point number one is, what are we fighting for? If we are going to suffer violence, means that something's going to come against us. What are we fighting for? That's the first thing that we need to question. We need to have solidified in our spirits, because if we don't know what we are fighting for, we're going to lose the battle. There's no resolve when going into battle. So understand that the enemy, the devil, goes around like a roaring lion seeking whom he can devour. It says that in 1 Peter 5:8. Yet Satan is coming seeking, but we cannot take it personal. Whenever anything happens to us, we tend to take it personal. That's the first go-to thing we have is, why did you let this happen to me, God? Why am I doing wrong? As Christians in this faith, we believe that because we have this faith, we are not going to ever face anything, that our kingdom, us, is never going to be assaulted, insulted, or go through trials. We're never going to have that. And that's a wrong belief. That is a lie from the enemy, to have that in your head, to believe that. That is very, very wrong. So as the kingdom of heaven, you will suffer violence. But are you going to be violent and take this kingdom by force and advance this kingdom by force? So Satan is convinced that we are one violent assault from dropping our beliefs and turning our backs on God. That is his main goal. His main goal is to separate us from the shepherd. And once he has us out from the shadow of his wings, Psalms 91:4, he takes great pleasure in devouring us while our loving Savior watches. That is his main goal, is to do that. We need to make Psalms 63 our life verse, the foundation and the foundation of our faith. It's Psalm 63 says, "You, God, are my God. Earnestly I seek you. I thirst for you. My whole being longs for you. Father, I ask that you seal your word in my heart so that we might not sin against you." Psalms 119:11 says that. I ask that I seal your word in my heart that I might not sin against you. When we make him our main focus, he will help us when despair and persecution comes. We have to have that our main goal. If we do not have getting God and keeping God in our heart, we will start losing our focus, because we'll start thinking that our husbands being right with God will be when we get right with, will make our kingdom better. When our kids are safe is when our kingdom will be better. When my situation at work is better, that's when we're going to have an awesome time with faith. Our faith is good when everything else around us is good, but the Bible doesn't tell us that. And that's wrong to believe that everything is good in our faith when everything is good around us. We need to understand that having the kingdom of heaven does not mean that nothing bad will ever happen. Believing that is a lie from the pit of hell. When your faith suffers violence, instead of asking all the wrong questions and seeking bad advice from people who will sympathize with you, but allow you to remain in pity and wail with you, why God is very plainly telling the enemy that we are in a fight, telling the enemy that we do not know who or what we are. God is very plainly telling us that we are in a fight with eternal consequences, but not to fear, for he has overcome the world. John 16:33. We need to look and expect that violence and be prepared for it, which is why he tells us to put on the whole armor of God every single day. And the second point is, who are you fighting? Well, the next natural question would be Satan. But sometimes, ladies, we are our own worst enemy. Sadly, we are our own worst enemy. Have you ever had a dream about an impending accident or death? Have you ever had flashes, like you're driving or you're working and then you have a flash of, wow, this could happen? Or your kids are out playing or doing something, wow, what if somebody hits them? Or what if they fall off a swing? Or anything like that. You have to be very, very careful with this one. And when I say that your own worst enemy, because we take those flashes and say, oh, God told me that this was going to happen. God is warning me that this is going to happen. Sometimes he does, But sometimes that deceiver, that imposter will start giving you these flashes to test your armor for your destruction. Can you guys still hear me? Yes? Okay, because it says that my internet is unstable. I'm not sure what that means. So, well, the way I've understood those and the way it's happened to me is God will give you a dream or give you a verse when something like that happens. He always, always, always backs it up with his verse or with a dream. And I've never had a dream more than once. If I've got it in a dream about something happening, I've only gotten that dream once. And then I start praying about it and seeking his word and interceding at that point. But the ones that are just flashes, that is the enemy setting the table for your destruction. He is setting the stage, and what he is doing, and you have to be very, very careful with that, because once it gets into your head and stays in your head long enough, it's going to seep down into your heart. And once it seeps down into your heart, what does the Bible say? It says, for the mouth speaks what is in the heart, what the heart is full of. And that's when he's got you. When the mouth starts speaking what is in the heart, you're starting to speak life and death, because the power of life and death are in the tongue. Proverbs 18:21. When that happens, you need to be aware that you are dealing with a familiar spirit that is undressing you of your armor, very slyly, very quietly, but he is undressing you of your armor so that he can steal, kill, and destroy you freely, because it has already undressed you of your armor and nullified your faith in God. Isn't that crazy? How he very quietly does it, these flashes where you'll hear people say, God told me this was going to happen, so I am at peace because God told me. If that's the case, why do we have his book full of promises? If he is warning you of that you're going to get sick and die, or somebody you love is going to get sick and die, why does he give you that, tell you that the power of life and death is in your tongue, and you've got an entire Bible full of his promises? That is a very tricky, sneaky attack of the enemy that we as women, and it's very popular in the Christian faith, in Christian realms, is to say that, yeah, Jesus is doing that. No, he's not. And you have to be very, very aware of that. So if you start having this, if you start having those and not intercede when calamity comes, you have to be very careful about that. When calamity or when something strikes, a violent assault on your kingdom of heaven happens, you have to ask yourself, if one of the questions that you ask is, why did you let this happen to me, God? Or where are you, God? If some of those questions or any of those questions are rattling around in your head when something happens, that is when you need to stand up and get ready to get violent. If something happens and you say one of those questions runs across your head, questioning your faith, questioning God, stand up and get ready to get violent. Get violent and undignified in your praise. Stand up and get loud and violent with your declarations of his promises. Stand up and get violent with your sword of the Spirit, because when words fail you, the Holy Spirit absolutely knows how to intercede. So say that you have suffered violence and you're struggled through it and you're like, okay, I made it, I'm done. Well, sadly, I am here to tell you that it will happen again. An attack of your faith and the kingdom of heaven inside of you will happen again, because Satan is not only after you one and done. He is coming after the word inside of you. He is constantly testing the word that is inside of you to see if it is sealed by the Holy Spirit until the day of redemption. That is his one main goal to do. So I have a dream, and I haven't told anybody other than Sonia and a couple of other people about this, about suffering violence. I was at one point, I was interceding, I was praying, I was fasting. Man, I was violently assaulting hell for this situation. And I woke up one day and my back just hurt. It hurt so bad. And if I moved a certain way, the pain would radiate from the top of my head to the soles of my feet. It was paralyzing. If I moved a certain way, I struggled through that, but it was very painful. And that evening, I asked my husband, I said, hey, can you rub some icy hot on my back? Something happened to me right in the middle of my back. I don't know what I did. I slept wrong. I pulled a muscle at my age. Moving wrong could cause that. I don't know. So he rubbed some icy hot, some different things on there. And he said, I can't really get it because of your bra and your t-shirt. And I was like, all right, well, that'll do. You got it. You got it. And then later, before he goes to bed, he said, in the morning, when you get up, take a shower, before you get dressed, and I will rub some on without your clothes on, your bra and your shirt. Okay. Well, he gets up the next morning, goes to rub it, and then he stops. And he says something I never ever expected him to say. He said, who hit you? And I was like, what are you talking about? Nobody hit me. He grabs me by the shoulders, turns me around, grabs them hard, and looks me straight in the eye, right in my face. And he said, who hit you, Leslie? And I was like, nobody hit me. I don't know what you're talking about. I pulled a muscle. And he goes, there is a bruise of a man's fist, knuckles in the middle of your back. Who hit you? Was it somebody at church? Was it somebody at work? Who hit you? And I was like, nobody hit me. I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, do not lie to me. I couldn't convince him that I hadn't been hit. He said, I am in security and I know what a fist bruise looks like. Who hit you? And I was like, nobody. I don't know what you're talking about. So I had Sonia take a picture of it because I was like, this is not a bruise. And sure enough, there was a bruise on the middle of my back that was knuckles. You could see the imprint of knuckles and you could see the imprint of the fist in the middle of my back. Yes, I got punched spiritually in the middle of my back while I was interceding and praying. I personally suffered violence while interceding and praying. But that verse came to mind. The kingdom of heaven has suffered violence, and the violence advance the kingdom. So I was like, you know what? Nope. I'm going to get louder in my praise. I'm going to start declaring his promises. I'm going to not take this personal because I'm doing something right. Ladies, I got hit so hard that my husband says, why aren't you standing? Why aren't your shoulders straight? Look at my shoulders. If you see my shoulders, you look at my shoulders. Well, when I got hit, literally for 3 days, my shoulders were like this. There was no way I could not straighten my shoulders out. He said, stand up straight. I said, I am. And he goes, you're not. I was like, I don't know how to tell you. I don't know how to fix this other than prayer. And I did. I was praying, fasting, and after a couple days, my shoulders fixed up and my bruise was gone and my back was better. So yes, you will suffer violence when you serve God and you're trying to advance the kingdom. So if you've been attacked, it will happen again. But the Matthew 7:24-27 says, therefore, Anyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came and the streams rose and the wind blew and beat, there's that beat, violence, against the house, yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. God is telling us to expect violence, but is giving us a time of grace to grow in our faith and try. And if we try to apply, if we don't grow in our faith before we get violent, assaulted, and we try to attach a sermon to that situation, we're a step behind. So you need to use the time of grace and rest to grow in your faith by daily union, communion in him, in his word, and let his word become alive and active and sharper than any two-edged sword, Hebrews 4:12. Now that you have heard this word, you are now responsible to build your house on this rock. You are now responsible to grow in your faith. You are now responsible to prepare for that violent assault on the kingdom of heaven, which is inside you. So let's remind Satan, we need to just daily remind Satan that when he comes at us because he thinks we are one attack away from breaking, that we are a tree planted by living water, Jeremiah 17:8, grounded and rooted in him. We need to just, because we don't want to say, why God, why God, why, how? Violence is coming, assaults are coming, whether it's on you personally, whether it's on your marriages, whether it's on your kids, whether it's on anything, it's gonna come because God's telling us, because Satan just thinks that we are one attack away from falling. And that's his main goal, is to get us to fall. So let me pray real quick, all right? Father, I just thank you. I praise you. I honor you and I glorify you. I thank you for the warning that you've given us. I thank you for the times of grace that you've given us to prepare and grow in our faith, to get stronger in you, Father God, so that when your kingdom suffers violence, we are violent in return and will advance your kingdom. Father, I pray for each of one of these precious souls that they do not take assaults personally, that they take them, that they see them for what they are, an attack on you, which is inside of them, Father God. And Father, I just ask for your covering for each and every single one of these women, that they will defend you inside of them with everything that they are, Father God, no matter what assault comes at them, that they will defend you and your kingdom inside of them until their dying breath, Father God. And I thank you that you are not letting us fight alone, that we have an army, Father God, behind us, Father God. We have an army physically in each one of us that we can reach out to, link arm in arm and fight this good fight of faith. And we also have a heavenly army, Father God, that goes before us. Your word goes before us, Father God. And I thank you for that assurance. I thank you for the honor of serving in your army, Father. And I just praise you, honor you, and glorify you. And I say this in your holy name, dear Jesus. Amen. So we are now open for discussion. If you guys have any questions, or if you guys have any, just any questions. And I open it up to all of the leaders, because some of the other leaders may have faced an assault that I haven't, and have had Bible verses or different ways that they got violent back. So I also open that up to different ones. All right, go ahead, ladies.